Has the thought of work just made you feel exhausted? Do you feel like your work doesn't have any value anymore? Or have you caught yourself fantasizing about leaving your job for something better? If you answered yes to any of those questions, you are likely experiencing something called burnout. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Tyler Warlow. I make videos on things that I wish I knew when I was younger. All of these videos focus on how to improve your life through your confidence, capabilities, and overall happiness. In today's video, I figured that I would talk a little bit about burnout and what some of the common warning signs are. Burnout is a very common experience that a lot of Americans have. Burnout is not a medical diagnosis like depression or anxiety. Rather, it is more of an experience. Burnout is what happens when someone is experiencing high levels of stress over a long period of time at either a work or some sort of responsibility function like caregiving. While I've made a video talking about burnout in the past, I figured today's video would be a quick video talking about the signs of burnout and what you can do to potentially offset it. If that sounds interesting to you, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Burnout is typically associated with three main symptoms. Those symptoms are going to be exhaustion, alienation from your activities, as well as reduced performance. Some of these are pretty self-explanatory. For instance, exhaustion is in general, you are just going to be feeling tired. That can be mentally, physically, or both. When someone is burnt out, their body can experience the sense of exhaustion even though they haven't necessarily been doing something that's physically difficult. However, because of the high stress environment that is leading to this burnout, it takes a toll on the person, and the body experiences that lack of being able to heal and recover by constantly being in this chronic state of stress as exhaustion. Exhaustion can potentially manifest itself in multiple ways. First off, you could potentially see things like brain fog, or even have difficulty falling asleep. So when you experience less sleep, that's going to of course lead to the next symptom, which is a reduction in performance. Again, here there are many ways that reduction in performance can manifest itself. You could actually see decreases in your ability to do your work. So you might notice that you aren't hitting your deliverables as often as you used to. If you're finding that you're commonly losing focus every 10 to 15 minutes and you can't really maintain your work for any serious amount of time, that could be a potential sign of burnout, especially if it is associated with the other symptoms that we're going to talk about. Reduced performance could also look like you're experiencing negative feelings about your work. So work that you previously found meaningful or challenging or exciting, you actually start to feel some negative feelings towards. That's a pretty big red flag if something that previously excited you is now starting to drain your energy. This feeling of negativity and lack of progress on your work can also lead you to feel like there is a lack of purpose in your work, like your work has no meaning anymore. When you start to feel like your work has no meaning, it can start causing you to alienate yourself from your peers, which is the final main symptom that we talked about earlier. Alienating yourself from your peers can look different for everyone. For some people, this is going to look like they are distancing themselves. So this can start to look like they aren't really talking to their coworkers anymore, they aren't participating in group discussions or idea generating sessions, and they really just start to withdraw from their peers. For other people, this could look like they're becoming a little bit more aggressive towards their coworkers, becoming snappier and less understanding and empathetic. So let's say a coworker is having a rough day and they're just kind of complaining. Rather than empathizing like you normally would, instead you snap at them and tell them to get over themselves. This lack of care or compassion for your coworkers when you may have previously had it can be a very obvious sign that you're starting to feel some signs of burnout. Alienation from your work can also take other forms. It could look like you stop caring about the results of your work. So for instance, you don't really care whether or not you do well, or it could even look like you don't feel anything from your work at all. You start to feel a feeling of numbness, and in a way that's kind of a defense mechanism that starts to happen when people are experiencing burnout. If you are starting to feel this feeling of numbness where you just don't feel anything at all, that means you are trying to protect yourself because you've been in such a high stress environment for so long. Your body is telling you like, hey, we've been feeling this really bad feeling for a bit, so we're gonna just not feel anything. So that's a pretty common sign as well. Now, obviously, another huge sign that you might be experiencing burnout is that despite enjoying your job previously, you are now fantasizing or really wanting to leave your job. This is despite the work and responsibilities remaining relatively the same, but you just start envisioning yourself in different work situations and not in the current one that you're in. It's important to note that the most common symptom between the three that we talked about is going to be the one of exhaustion. And this is typically because of the environments that one will usually find themselves that lead to burnout. This can be from things such as long work hours, unsatisfying work, or struggling with a work-life balance because you are also experiencing a stressful environment at home, such as dealing with a newborn child while dealing with the stress at work. Dealing with these things on a constant basis usually causes someone to start feeling fatigued, whether it's mentally or physically, depending on the job. And so, therefore, it is the most common of the three symptoms that we discussed. Now, something that you might be thinking to yourself is that, hey, a lot of these symptoms sound similar to the symptoms that someone might be experiencing with depression, so how can I really tell the difference? That difference is mainly going to be seen from the source. First off, depression is a medical diagnosis. It's not an experience that one goes through. And usually, depression is you have to be experiencing several signs of depression for over 2 weeks. Depression requires real help, such as through a therapist or a psychiatrist, to help resolve the issue. And sometimes it's a recurring thing that never truly goes away. Burnout is usually the symptom of a work-related problem or a care/responsibility related problem, and it's less long term. So if you're feeling like a lot of your feelings of stress, exhaustion, or these other symptoms that we talked about are usually in reference to your work, then it's more likely that you're experiencing burnout than it is that you're experiencing depression. If you are noticing that you're starting to experience some of the warning signs that we already discussed, then there's a few different things that you can do to help you treat/prevent burnout in the future. Since burnout is usually a product of your work, these treatments are typically centered around somehow changing that environment. That can look like taking time off or away from work or changing your job responsibilities. You can also work to find a better work-life balance, whether that means working less or finding hobbies that you enjoy outside of work. But you could also go to therapy where you might learn some strategies that might help you boost your resilience. But that's going to go ahead and bring us to the end of today's video, y'all. I know that today's video was a shorter one, but if you found it to be informative or helpful at all, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to join me along in this self-improvement journey. If you're interested in more videos like this one where I talk about physical and mental health, be sure to check out this video right here where I talk about the 5 mistakes that are killing your fitness goals. If you're more interested in more of my most recent stuff, be sure to check out this video right here. But until the next time, this is Tyler Warlow, signing off.